actually a story about mistaken identity, and it's a lot of several little stories. Being a short guy, you sort of get lost in a lot of crowds, and it definitely wears on you. And you just get very exhausted and tired of sort of getting passed over when there's all these much taller people around. So you grow up, and there's all these things that sort of reinforce that negative feeling. I'll go into synagogue. I'm Jewish, so I'll go to synagogue maybe once a month or so, and I'll do it for several years. My brothers, who had been in Israel for several years, everybody still remembers them, but people keep asking, so what are you doing these days? Did you just graduate college? Are you living anywhere near in town? And it's like, I just saw you 2 weeks ago, and you asked these exact same questions. So this is, killing my, self-identity here. But then, over the years, a lot of people, just from one thing or another, have sort of paired me with Seth Green. And I guess because, he's not the tallest of people, he's also redheaded. I didn't always have a beard, and my hair wasn't quite as curly all the time. But one time I went into my synagogue for this holiday called Purim, which is kind of like Jewish Halloween, except instead of going around and collecting candy, you actually give out cookies filled with chocolate or fruit filling. And as I walk in dressed as a WWF wrestler, I see these 3 teenage girls, and one of them grabs her friend. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I just thought Seth Green walked in here." And I overheard that, and I thought, okay, well, that's pretty nice, look like a little bit like a celebrity. And then it happened another time when I was, it happened over the years where people go, "Oh, you must get this all the time, you look just like him." But I go on spring break vacation with some of my friends, and we're in Mexico. And I'm the designated driver that night, so I'm not drinking anything. So I'm actually very, very bored watching my friends fall all over themselves. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just sort of looking at the TVs in the distance, and this one guy sits next to me, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "I'm good." And he sees that there's Buffy the Vampire Slayer on, but nobody's, the volume's off. So I'm just sort of staring at it, and he goes, "Oh, I love this episode. This is the episode where Oz," which is Seth Green's character, "this is the episode where, Oz does this thing." I go, "Okay, that's nice." And then he leans in a little closer, and he goes, "You look just like Seth Green." I was like, "Okay, thanks." He leans in a little closer, and he goes, "I love Seth Green." Okay. But so this thing definitely just, happened. It keeps happening every so often where people will be thinking that I'm somebody I'm definitely not, and I keep thinking I'm never making a big enough impression. I went to, for instance, I've got another cousin who is also redheaded, about the same height, and he has very curly hair, and he's a second cousin, and everyone always, confuses one for the other. His father is a jeweler, and at his mother's funeral, there were a few old couples who actually came up and asked if I was going to go into the family jewelry business. And it's just this very awkward thing, because you have people coming up and, just all of a sudden assuming you're somebody else and ready to pour their heart out to you. And then it's like, "No, I'm not Scott, I'm Brian. You want that guy over there, but thank you." And then it happened again where people keep thinking I'm just like him. In fact, at his bar mitzvah, so he's 13, and he's up on the beam of the stage up there, and I'm sitting in one of the front rows, and at the time I'm 22 and I have a goatee. But, a few people still came up and said, "Mazel tov, congratulations." And I was like, "No, you want Scott, I'm his cousin." And in fact, there's even a part where I went up there and we did a prayer, together, and people could see, oh, this family has 2 redheads.
Okay.
One of them has a goatee. And still, it didn't hit with people. And later, at his bar mitzvah party, somebody comes up and gives me a big hug, and she goes, "Oh," and this is an older person who watched me grow up. She goes, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you. I didn't think I was going to get to say hi to you, and I hadn't seen you in forever." And I said, "Oh, finally, it is so good to see someone who recognizes me, because everybody thinks I'm Scott." And she goes, "Well, don't worry, I'll keep your secret." I was like, no, I'm Lyndon Nelson's son. I'm not Scott. And she just felt so embarrassed, because clearly she's like, "Oh my gosh, I absolutely know who this kid is." So, this just keeps happening. In fact, it just happened the other day. I'm sitting at the back of a panel, and this guy comes in, his face is all red, and he's ready to tear me a new one. And he goes, "Are you TJ?" It's like, "No." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So he races off. So I'm very glad that I wasn't TJ that day. But one of the things is that in the spirit of South by Southwest, you know, everybody, especially interactive, there's a lot of people who come here trying to like make a name for themselves and get famous. And one of the things that you definitely learn, something that's reinforced, is that it is so less important about all the people who don't know you, that it's so unimportant that they can identify you. It is so much more important that your best friends can identify you just by looking at the back of your head. Because I came here very early tonight, not sure who was going to come, and at least like 5 or 6 people kicked me in the back of my legs, tapped me on my shoulder, and that thing just touched me a great deal. So I hope that before you finish the evening, give your best friend or the person next to you, a great big hug. Thank you very much.
Yeah!